there. So today I want to talk to you about goal setting for the quarter for independent reading. And I use a system that I've used for a really long time, and maybe some of your other teachers have too, where I use pages that you've read per quarter to count for your grade. And I let kids decide how many pages make sense for them for the quarter for what excellence would look like, and they aim for that goal. So that would be your A goal. So you'd have a page goal of say 800 pages for an A, and if you make it to, you read 800 pages in a quarter, then you would have an A as your independent reading grade. I then break it down a little bit differently. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a second to show you the form I'm going to use this year so that you can set your goal, and also so you'll know if you don't quite make your goal, because let's face it, for some people, if 800 is like excellent for you and something happens and you only read 3 books, so you end up closer to 600, that's still really good. And a really good grade for your independent reading is a B. So I'll show you how that looks now. I'm going to share the screen with you. Let's see here. Got to find my document, which is right over here. Okay. And that was a really bad song, but you must be used to that by now. So I'm going to share a document like this with you, and you'll put your name on it and your, don't forget, I guess we don't really need the period. I guess I could take that off of there because we don't really have periods anymore, but maybe you could put your, this year we would call it our class name. So that would be like the Dino Ducks or the Goldfish or whatever you are. And I already put in here that it's quarter 1. So I want you to think about what would excellence look like for you. Like if you really knocked it out of the park and did the best reading that you could. And so we're expecting 30 minutes a night, 5 nights a week. That's average. Some people like to read a couple hours on the weekends, right? And don't read during the week. Some people like to read every night before bed. So how you break up your hours and how you read is totally up to you. But basically 150 pages a week is what we're expecting, roughly. Just giving you a general idea. For some people it's 100, for some people it's 500. So you have to know yourself as a reader and what you're capable of, and think about what excellence would look like for you. So for most kids in the 7th grade, 800 is excellent. That's 4 books a quarter, 16 books a year, and that's great. So for most kids, if you scroll down here, I have an example for that one, and I did that for the middle box here because I wanted to show you what the breakdown would look like. So if that's what makes sense for you, you'd put 800 up here in the yellow, and then half of that, if you got halfway to your goal, that's a C. So that would go in the pink box. That's 400. Then you take half of the 200, half of the 400, which is 200, and that's for what you would earn if you got a D, which is really just 1 book a quarter, which is like, you know, not really excellent, right? I think you could do better than that, especially because I am going to give you a lot of time to read, and you're going to have a lot of downtime this quarter, the way things are. And then if you see that you add boxes, the D box and the C box together, you get the B box. So that looks like 800 for an A, 600 for a B, 400 for a C, 200 for a D. And just because I wanted to show you what it would look like for another amount, if let's say you're a pretty heavy duty reader, some of you explained to me on our one-to-one chats that you read quite a bit. So maybe you'd put 1200 for your goal because you're pretty sure with a good effort you could get there. Then you'd have 900 for a B, 600 for a C, and 300 for a D. And if you don't make it to 300, then you would get an F, but that's not going to happen because it almost never does. If you wanted to read through this, I know you can read, so you can read through this on your own. And if you have any questions about it, you can just email your questions to me. No question is a silly question. If you need to know, I'll answer it for you. And then you'll fill out the box, the page with what works for you and the boxes that work for the goal you've chosen. And then you can turn it in Classroom so I can see it. And that way it'll be pretty clear to me what your goal is. And we'll talk more about it later on. How do you get credit for your books and so forth. We'll talk about that as well. But for right now, you just need to think about your goal, maybe talk to a parent about it or a sibling, an older sibling about it. What seems like a good, fair goal for you for quarter one. Quarter ends at the end of October. I actually consulted 2 of the district calendars and I could not find the exact date, but it's usually right at Halloween time. So we have about 8 weeks. So kind of consider that. Also, you might want to build in some time for kicking books to the curb, because if you get to 50 pages in and you're like, this is boring, then you might have to start a new book. So you might want to pad it a little bit with that in mind, because that's what a logical reader does, is they consider how good a book is, and they might not finish every book they start. And I think that's really actually a smart thing to do. So consider that as well. And again, ask if you have any questions. Okay,